everyone. It's Monique Alvarez, and we are back for another episode of The Story That Built Her. And I'm thrilled to have Lisa with us today. This is where we're going to go beyond the highlight reel, beyond what we're supposed to talk about, to the real raw stories that defined us. Because we know behind every woman, behind every business, brand, book, there is a story to tell. And that's what we're going to do today. So, hi, Lisa.
Hi, Monique. Hi. It's nice to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. And I know based on what you filled out in the questionnaire, we have plenty to talk about today. Yeah. And I love how outspoken you are about your life, your experiences, good, bad, and ugly. So why don't we just go ahead and jump in and get to the heart of it? What is the story that built you? What's the one that defined you and changed everything for you?
Well, it has to do with domestic violence. And I grew up in a home where, my father was Mexican and he was the head of, he was it, he was it. Everything he said, everything he did. I mean, he could do no wrong. Anything he said, you had to listen to, and you just were sort of, had to just submit to it. Right. That's just how it was. And I grew up thinking that was normal, that the man did everything, whatever he said, whatever he did, whatever he wanted to do was okay. You needed to ask for permission, and you needed to sort of be small, right? Be small, be seen and not heard unless you're spoken to, and all of those old rules that we had when we were kids. And then I grew up and went right into relationships that were just like that, and got married. It didn't start out terrible, but started out pretty typical. But there was that what we know now, those of us who are in this domestic violence world where we help women, that love bombing. Like, I love you, I want to marry you right away, you're the one. I mean, within 2 weeks, he was wanting to get married, and all of this stuff. And I look back now and I see the manipulation and everything else that went along with it. But I just was happy to be paid attention to and happy to be loved, and seen, right? But it was gradual. And I remember the exact moment that I lost my power with this person. And we'd gone to meet my friends, and I was so excited because everyone was like, oh, Lisa's dating someone. So great. And he sat there and didn't say a word for like 2 hours to my friends, and he drank tea. We were at a bar and he ordered hot tea. And so we were, I was so mad when we left. How can you not talk to my friends? It's so embarrassing. And I picked up my purse to leave, and he said, if you leave now, you're never coming back. And I'm like, wow, I just invested a few months in this. And it was that threat, and I was used to that threat. My dad used threats a lot. It was just a thing, like, you better not do that. Blah, blah, blah. So I submitted and I sat there, and that was the beginning of 17 years of kids and marriage and separation and back and forth. And it didn't start out being violent. It started out just with the threats or the withdrawals. That's another thing that people do in relationships. They'll withdraw their attention from you. They won't speak to you. They'll not acknowledge you, keep you separated for a while. And then as his addictions, he was alcoholic, drug addict. As his addictions progressed, so did the violence, right? It ended in 2006 with me being thrown through a window, my fingers being broken, my being stabbed and being, almost killed, basically. Attempted murder. I got out of the situation. My daughter was there with me at the time. We escaped, broken and bloodied. The police came shortly after, and he went to jail. But he had zero punishment. He had a $260 fine, 6 weeks of picking up trash on Saturdays on the freeway, and an anger management class. And that was it. That was that was it. So I went through years of healing, and trying to find my voice again, and trying to, and this whole time I had a really great career in technology, and trying to maintain that and feed my kids and house my kids, and all the things that you do as a single mom. And got to the point about 6 years ago that I wanted to tell my story. Finally, I was brave enough, and I was ready, and I was confident, and I was, always had been helping other women since that happened to me, working at shelters and so on. But I wanted a place to tell my story, and I couldn't find anywhere that was a safe space, because of course I could probably go on TikTok or Instagram or something and say I was in an abusive relationship and have 400,000 abusers come out of the closet to attack me on Instagram, and I was just done with that. And also, I wanted to speak up and speak out so that other women knew that they weren't alone, right? Like, this happened to me, and I know this is happening to you. And if you need a safe space, come with me, come here. I've got you. And so I decided to create a conference, and I've done thousands of events in my career. So it was one of those aha moments where I woke up in the morning and I thought, why don't I just do this myself? So created my conference. I called a bunch of women that I knew through my network, and said, hey, do you want to speak? And they said, sure. So I had 30 women the first year. We're up to 50. I mean, we had over 700 applications at the conference last year. So there's plenty of women who want to come and tell their story. And it's become a platform to tell your story, but for empowerment as well. So when you come on board, you tell your story, you tell how you got out of it and what your sort of moment was, and how you help other women. And you can promote your business and do whatever. And if you don't have a business, doesn't matter. You can still tell your story. But, we've had everything from, women who have had to deal with suicide, have lost children, have lost husbands, have lost, parents, have dealt with cancer. I mean, you name it, it's been talked about. So, from the ashes came this amazing platform now that we've had close to 700 women, 45 countries, and it's a safe space. And that's what's the most important thing, is that we have a place that we can gather, and we can share, and we can, sort of soothe each other at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think what you said is really key. When somebody gets brave enough to share their story, and they do so, but then immediately get attacked or criticized, completely swarmed on the internet, that is, it's asking too much, honestly, because we know the way the internet can be. And so I
Right.
love that you decided to find an alternative way to do that.
And it puts you right back into that trauma, and you've worked so hard to get out of it. And now somebody you don't even know is attacking you in the same way that you used to be attacked. It's ridiculous. But the other part of it is to eradicate that shame and judgment that comes along with domestic violence, right? There is this, women are always blamed for the situation. Men are never blamed for the situation. It's like, oh, why didn't you leave? Well, why didn't he stop hitting me? Mm-hmm. Oh, but why didn't you leave? Well, why did he take all the money? Why aren't you asking men these questions about their actions, and what they've learned, and how they've grown up, and the false narratives that they've been taught? When you're putting the sole blame on women, I've even been asked, like, what did you do?
Oh, wow.
What did you do?
Why did
he get so mad at you? Like, what did you do? What I did was I tried to leave. And statistics show that when women try to leave abusive relationships, that's the most dangerous time. I asked for a divorce, and it was 18 days later that he went ballistic. So, it was time for him to think about what I might do in the future, what I could have done, what he didn't, like all the things, right? But enough time for him to decide my life wasn't worth anything if I wasn't serving him, right? And it was such a hit to his ego, even though the signs were there. I mean, we had split up several times, and but there's also a fear, right? We have fear around, is he going to kill me? Is he going to let me go? There's so much around it. And the other part of it is the enablers, right? There's this whole group of enablers around who know what's happening and never say anything, who might even support the abusers, like my ex-mother-in-law, right? I called her that night, crying, sobbing. The paramedics were at my house trying to patch me up. And she was like, well, where is he? How do I get hold of him? Never once asked me how I was. Never once, I mean, she loved me when I had her grandkids and when we were around everywhere else. But, and there are so many stories of him freaking out and losing his cool and hurting his brother and all these other things. So the pattern was definitely there. She was just an enabler, she was like, oh, well, he's my son. And okay, right. Great. He's your son, but he's a crazy maniac. So, yeah.
Wow. And I think that is a huge component. And what you said, it feels like the underlying thing in the dynamic of a relationship like this is, as long as they have control, it's okay. No matter if it's that good or that bad, it's okay as long as control can be maintained. But the second they feel that is being threatened, then all bets are off.
Right. Because when they lose control, they're powerless, right? They feel like they have no power, and getting angry feels better than being powerless. And powerless comes with depression and all of those things, it's that really low vibration, right? So they just think like, well, I get mad, I feel better. And then if you're feeling powerless all the time, and there's a really strange dynamic in this as well. Many abusers find independent, strong, confident women because it's almost like a challenge. Like, I want to take her down a notch. I want to control her. I want to, take over. And so then we go, oh, okay, and we shrink. And then when we start feeling like, what am I doing? Why am I shrinking? And I don't want to live like this. And it's not who I am. And you start to come out of it, the whole time maintaining this front to everybody, right? You start to gain your power back. And that's where the slippage starts, right? That's where he starts sliding down that slope and starts lashing out to try and bring you back down. And that's the dangerous part. So, there are a lot of red flags now that I've been through it, and I've helped so many women, and like, we know the red flags. So there's a lot of teaching going on in this community about what to look out for. And I'm so grateful that women are having conversations. I know you and I spoke about that this was something that nobody ever spoke about, right? Nobody ever talked about out loud. But that women are having conversations now. And even if it's just on social media, I see things on threads all the time where people are asking questions, like they must be pulled off of Reddit or something, but women are asking questions. Am I being abused? This is the situation. Am I crazy? This is what's happening. And luckily we have the opportunity now to ask those questions and to go to people, or even if they're strangers, to ask them, am I crazy? Because that's something that you're made to feel, right? You're gaslit. You're made to feel crazy. Like, why are you even questioning this? Are you out of your mind? So when it's clearly wrong, or it's clearly abuse.
Yeah. And I think something that goes right along with this is, however we are raised, we think is normal. We think that's how it is. And so when things play out later in our life, if we can reference our childhood, if we can reference a parent or an authority figure, it's familiar, even if it was dysfunctional, because oftentimes as kids, we don't have any clue it's not supposed to be like that. So
Right.
I love to talk a little bit about that, about, you know, looking at childhood and dynamics in the home, and then how do we then navigate that to figure out, what do I want for my life, even though that was considered normal? What is healthy? What is good?
I think um I think now the younger generation, my kids' generation, 25 to 35 time frame, and younger, are much more aware than we were, right?
Yeah.
We weren't aware because our parents weren't aware. So we just kind of went along with whatever it was. But because now that we're talking about this, and because we're out here saying this is what is right and this is what is wrong, and so on, they're paying attention. And because of social media, as much as everybody says, oh, social media is addictive, social media has helped so many things in this world, right? Made us aware of so many things, this being just one of them. But you could talk about global climate change. You could talk about politics. You could talk about all this stuff that we're aware now of, things that we were never aware of before. And so I think younger people are much more aware of it and can see those things and are calling people out on it. And I love that. Um, but if you're not aware, if you're just seeing this and you're just like, mind blown because you don't know these things. Yes, you whatever you grow up in, they always say be careful what you say around your kids and how you act around your kids, because they soak it up like a sponge. And you learn that is what relationships are. I did. Relationships are him always being mad, you doing everything perfect so he doesn't get mad, and making sure he's happy 100% of the time. You don't matter. That's what I learned. I didn't matter. All I needed to do was make a man happy, right? And if he was mad, I was doing something wrong. And so I better cry my eyes out and figure it out and do it right again, but don't let him see you or hear you cry, because, he's only going to get mad about that. So I think all these crazy things that I grew up with. But I fell right into that role, and I did exactly what I was taught to do, and picked a person that was exactly like my father, in that way, with the alcohol abuse and the anger problems. But it was comfortable to feel scared all the time. It was comfortable to feel like I wasn't doing things right all the time. Those were normal things that I knew. It was uncomfortable after I was out of it to feel like I could just go to a restaurant by myself and have a meal, or I could just watch whatever movie I wanted on TV, or I could just eat whatever I wanted for dinner, call my friends whenever I wanted to, smoke a cigarette if I wanted to, like all of these crazy things that were so off limits, but that are normal things that we should, as human beings, just be able to do. But when you learn what I learned, I didn't know what freedom was.
Hmm.
I didn't know what it meant to do whatever you wanted. I had no idea what that looked like. One of the first things I did, because I'd been an artist when I was a kid, so one of the first things I did when I got divorced is I went out and bought paints and a canvas, and I started painting again. And I haven't stopped since. It's been 20 something years. I haven't stopped, but I still have the first painting I did sort of sitting on an easel in my office, because that to me was freedom. That I could just sit there for hours and not have to answer to anybody, and pick whatever color I wanted, and use my time however I wanted. And even just even get up and go to the bathroom whenever I wanted. It was like, where are you going? What are you doing? All the time. So yeah, that freedom is something that everybody should have, and no one should be able to take away from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you give these specific examples, it's like, whew, yeah, this
Yeah.
is this is what gets stripped away in those situations. It's like the hyper awareness of walking on eggshells,
Mhm.
maintaining this level of perfection, obedience, submissiveness, uh, being agreeable so that we don't have to possibly experience the anger, that the other side of it, right?
Right.
For women who they're in the thick of it, okay, they're where you were at one time. What do you wish they knew? What do you wish you knew when you were 10 years in, 15 years in? What do you wish they knew?
I wish I knew how many people would be willing to help me,
Mm-hmm.
because I was so isolated. I mean, I had a job and I had workmates and stuff like that, but I would never tell people I worked with that my husband was abusive. Um, but I wish I knew how many people would help me, because as soon as I said, "This is happening to me," out loud to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Or some people said, "Well, we thought that might be the case, but we didn't want to come to you and say, 'Are you being hit? Are you being abused?'" That kind of thing. But had I said it to them, they would have helped me. Um, it's such a very sensitive subject, right? And 10 years in, I wouldn't have admitted it anyway. I wouldn't have said, "Oh yeah, that's happening to me." I'd be like, "What, are you crazy?" I would have lied right to your face to hide it at all costs. So I just want to say, if you're in it, there are so many people that are willing to help you. Um, and not only my organization, but there are thousands of organizations out there that women have started, and I can connect you to so many of them, regardless of what you need. One of the things, I partner with an organization called I Know Why She Stayed, and they help women with financial that are in financial abuse, because one of the things that also happens is, in these relationships, the man will say, "Well, I'm the man. I'm the one who's supposed to control all the money." And so women often give up their paycheck and it goes into a joint account. He monitors it like, there's no tomorrow, right? It's like every little detail. You're not allowed to spend any money. You're given, here's money for groceries. And you're like, how am I supposed to feed a family for on, $50 or whatever? But that's all you're given. And don't you dare ask for more. And they do that so you can't leave, because how are you going to leave if you don't have any money, if you can't get access to the money? So there are a lot of ways that you can save, open your own account, all of these things without him finding out. Um, Also, there are organizations like I Know Why She Stayed that will help with funding if you're ready to leave, so that you can get away and you can get your kids safe. There are organizations that I work with that will take your pets. I heard a statistic the last conference about how many women don't leave because they don't want to leave their dogs or cats. And most women's shelters won't take them. So where are they going to go? They don't want to leave their pets with the abuser, right? There are organizations out there, women, who will take your pets until you're ready to take them back, and they'll foster them. The people will foster your pets for you until you're ready. So there's so much help out there, so much. You've just got to ask for it.
Mm-hmm. I think that is such a powerful thing, is you have no idea how much help is available. And I think you're right. I think the finances is a huge component of it, because if they don't have any money, if they don't have any means to figure out new housing situation, be able to take care of their kids, be able to start fresh, they're not going to do it, right? And if
Right.
everything is held by the person who's creating all this chaos, they they themselves have few options, but there's options outside of them. And that's what you're saying
Right.
is post it. You can post anonymously now on social media. You can do a
Yep.
Google search, right? Somebody knows something. And this is what I love. I'm with you. I completely love about social media. You can go into a giant group of women and you say what you need. And I guarantee you will get answers, contacts, introductions, resources. It can happen just like that.
Just like that. I think the first or second day I was on Threads, I asked a question, who would like to be a part of something? And I had 800 responses in 3 hours. I mean, it was just something, like I had just like this idea. And I'm like, who might be interested in this? 800 people. And those calls for help from women, especially in women's groups, and there's so many of them now. Yeah, there's a lot of help out there. And it's no longer is it a shameful stigma to say, hey, I'm in this abusive relationship and I need help. Whereas, 20 years ago, it was. Now people are like, girl, I got you. Let me come over and pick you up and I'll drive you to Tennessee or something. You know what I mean? Like, there are women out there that'll be like, let me take care of this. And we've got this network and we'll take care of it. So
that is so true. There is some Thelma and Louise that's going to drive you across some state line or whatever has to happen, right?
They will. They'll feed you. They'll give you some clothes. They'll give you some money. They'll feed your kids. They'll babysit your kids while you get a job. I mean, there's such a great network of women out there right now, and it's only getting better, right? It's only getting better because more and more women are realizing that they are entitled to have their freedom as well, and to have the life that they want to have.
And like you said, it's different than it was before. Now women can go, you know what? I totally get that man. He will lay it on thick. He'll think he'll make you feel so special and so loved. And as soon as he's got you, he's going to flip the script. We understand now that abusers they don't start off as jackholes, right? They gradually get us there. And so it's no longer like, well, Lisa, what were you thinking? Why weren't you smarter? Why didn't you make better decisions? It's like, we know who you're dealing with. These people are master manipulators, and they are pros at what they do.
Oh yeah. He was a pro. Good looking, and just kind of like knew exactly how to look at you and what to say. And
Yes.
and one of the things they do is they will really get in there with you about your feelings and who's ever wronged you, and learn all of your secrets and your pains, right? Because that's ammo for them.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah,
exactly. Then they use it against you, right?
And they use it against you later. So they know they know that arrow that pierced your heart, and they pull it out, and you're like, oh, thank you for pulling that out. And they just stick it in their little case, and then they bring it out later and stab you again with it. Like, oh, I know this hurt the first time. I'm going to hurt you with it again and again and again. And so, that's part of that love bombing right at the very beginning. Like, I see you, I hear you. I can't believe you've gone through all this. Oh my gosh, who would ever hurt you? You're so special. You're one in a million. I've never met anybody like you. And you're like on cloud nine. You're thinking, wow, this guy sees me finally I'm being seen. I've been heard. I've been understood. And then, fast forward 10 years, you're saying, please don't hurt me anymore. Right. It's ridiculous. But now that we can talk about it, now that we're able to say this is what to look for, I think, it's apparent that there's this male loneliness epidemic, right? That's happening. Well, because women are saying, no, I'm not going to put up with that anymore. I heard the best description of somebody the other day of a man. So there's this subgroup of men right now that love video games, right? Play video games. A lot of them might have roommates. They live in an apartment. This is, I read dating threads because I'm really curious to see what's sort of happening in this world, because I talk so much about abuse and so much about relationships. They usually have, they're grown men, right? They have roommates, they eat fast food all the time, and they sit and play video games for hours and hours and hours upon end. They don't clean their sheets, they don't do any of these things, and then they want to date a woman who just sits around and cleans their house for them and watches them play video games, which sounds like a blast, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. Somebody termed them hobosexuals. And I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was brilliant. So ladies, if there's a hobosexual out there trying to, date you, I hope you like video games, because that's going to be your life. Right. But grown men, like 30 something, living this life, and you could do whatever you want, but then don't expect that you will attract a life partner to come in and put up with it. Right. It's just,
and I think that's where the conversation is going, and it is, and is continuing to go, is if you're a high value woman, then don't settle for anything that less than a high value man, because I mean, I can't tell you how many women I know as friends and as clients, they're dynamic, they're very advanced in their business or their career, and their boyfriend or spouse is, like you said, they're sitting on the couch all day, they're playing video games, they're letting her handle everything. And she is so powerful and so dynamic that she's kind of bought into this lie that, I just have to kind of take whoever I can get. And that's not the case. It's just not the case. And we get to continuously raise the bar for ourselves and the people who are in our lives.
Correct. And there are plenty of men out there. I'm not bashing men by any means. There are plenty of really good, responsible, helpful, share everything men that want a good partner and a good relationship and want you to live your best life and lift you up. And I mean, I have one, I think you have one. It's like, there is nothing that my husband wouldn't do for me. There's nothing that man wouldn't do for me if I said, I want this, or I want, reminds me of that old Winona song where the guy, would go he sat at this little cafe and he met the waitress and he married her. And I don't know what the name of the song is, but every once in a while he gets up and he gets in the car and he goes downtown to buy her something, right? Because he's just thinking about something that she wanted and he just had to go and get it. I mean, that's the kind of relationship that I have. It's like, I never thought I'd be lucky enough to find someone that would really appreciate me and care about how I feel and really, right? And want to make me happy and want to let me thrive and do whatever I needed to do. But it happened. And again, you're right. I mean, I did it. I picked someone. My ex-husband was a bartender when I met him, I mean, I worked in tech. I didn't meet him at a bar. I met him at a video store, like a video shop. And then, I dated another guy he was smart and he had a good job, but he wasn't ambitious and he didn't care if he only made $60,000 for the rest of his life. He didn't care about that because he wanted to play video games, at some point. And it's like, no. But I digress. That is, just looking out for those red flags and really knowing your worth, knowing, respecting yourself and who you are, and that you can be, do, or have whatever you want in this life. And if you don't find someone who's willing to come along with you, just do it on your own. There's nothing like I would probably be 20 years ahead in my career had I not had, these situations. But that was my life lesson, right? That was what I had to learn, because now I help others with all of this. So it's really was my path. It was my journey. But if you are ambitious and you're climbing the ladder, and you're out there, you're an influencer, or you're this or you're that, like, think about why you want something so bad within a relationship. And I talk to women about this a lot. Is it because you've been told you have to get married? Is it because you've been taught that you have to get married? Is it because of what your parents are pushing on you? Is it because of what your religion is pushing on you? Is it because of society pushing on you? Like, what are those things? You don't have to listen to any of it. You get to choose what you want to do in this world. And I have like 4 or 5 college degrees. My mom would always ask me, when are you going back to school? Like, for what? What do I need to go back to school for? What are you going, like if I got another degree, it was going to make a difference. It was going to elevate me. I'm like, Mom, that's just not it. Like, you have to understand. But it was so ingrained in her that, that's how you were perceived based on how much you accomplished, and you probably know this too, like this hypervigilance to overperforming, this thing that you have to just consistently perform and achieve, or else, like, you're just not, you're not worth anything. Like, it was definitely a Latino thing, right? Like, there's that achievement, like the trophy, the achievement. Yeah.
You're constantly working for that. And it's like, if you're not an overachiever, if you're not constantly, keep going, go one more notch. I know you're there, but you know what? We're going to push you. Then somehow you're failing, even though it's not giving you what you want. It doesn't even mean anything. Now we're working for what? Gold stars that you can't cash in for anything.
Right.
It is. It's a whole mentality. And at some point in your life, you go, oh, wait a second. I don't actually have to do that. What do I do? Who am I doing this for?
Right. Yeah. When you think about that, who are you doing it for? Am I doing it for me? If not, then don't do it. Like, you need to do it for you, it's so important. Like you said, cashing it in for what? For that day of accolades where your parents are like, oh, that's so great. They have bragging rights now.
Right.
But then what?
And then it quickly is, it disappears, and then there's just always another mountain to climb, right?
Right.
Lisa, where can people learn more about your organization and get involved with what you're doing?
You can go to SheIsMeGlobal.com, and we have a lot of different paths and a lot of information there. You can speak at a conference, you can take some leadership paths to entrepreneurship, you can get help if you need it. Lots of information. Just tell me what you need. Every email comes to me, so tell me what you need and we will connect you.
Perfect. I appreciate you telling your story, talking about the things that, were taboo at many different times. Yeah. And I'm so thrilled that you found a good man and love,
thank you.
And a beautiful purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Right? And for those who are watching, your journey is not in vain. No matter how difficult, painful, shameful, embarrassing, where you are on that path, it is for a bigger purpose. Mm-hmm. We would love to share your story here or in one of our upcoming books. Click on the links below. And until next time, remember this: every person in your life needs to make it better. All right. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.